guys, Nick here. Thanks for stopping by. It's been a few days since my last video, so I wanted to make sure that I dropped everything in and gave you guys some updates. I will be having a CT scan here in a couple of weeks, but I'll go more into that after I get the results for all of that back. But I wanted to tell you guys about my first initial trip to Vanderbilt and speaking with my soon-to-be transplant team. I was given a lot of information leading up to meeting with Vanderbilt as to what all they were going to do, so I really had no idea what to expect. It took me a while to actually be able to get an appointment with them. I had worked with my gastroenterologist frequently, both in the hospital and out, as well as my nephrologist and my primary care and just the whole medical team. At that time I was on hospice as well, so I had a whole lot of different medical providers tending to me. So there was a specific protocol that I had to complete before I could get into Vanderbilt to speak with their liver transplant team. It was a very challenging process, in my opinion, a lot harder than it should have been. But these are kind of some things that I had to do. My GI had made a call to Vanderbilt advising them about my situation, but it eventually took my primary care physician, who had been responsible for my care ever since I was a younger adult. So he had about 20 years of information about me, and he reached out and gave a lot of my background, what he knew about me, and what my history and what my real struggles were. So that really helped to expedite the process. Once he did that, Vanderbilt reached out to me, and I got an appointment on July the 5th of 2022. Now, I was still receiving regular paracentesis at this time, and this was during I would call the 6-month kind of peak of after being sent home and not being in the hospital, but we were just still battling constantly. I still had all of the fluid retention. My heart rate was very low. My blood pressure was very low. I was having trouble. I was just falling asleep randomly, and there was just a lot of things. So once I got to Vanderbilt, I was under the impression that I was going to have psychological evaluations, that I was going to have just all of this blood work, that it was going to be like an all-day thing, that I was going to be sitting. It's not how it happened. So once we got in, we sat down with my physician and her medical assistant and nurse and kind of went through everything that had gotten me up to this point. She looked at all of my medical records, so we spent about 30 minutes or so with her. I'm not going to lie, I was very disappointed in that I thought the appointment was going to be much longer and we were really going to be moving through in the process, but the process does take time. So I've had to learn patience in that. A big message that you'll hear a lot is we want to keep you as healthy as possible and make the transplant kind of the last resort, because if you're like me and it was caused primarily by alcohol, they do require a lot of prep work. One of the things was I had to attend an intensive outpatient recovery program for alcohol abuse. That took me about 5 months to complete because my immune system was compromised, so I couldn't go to some place personally and live in person at that time. So it was all over over Zoom. They would do my alcohol screenings and all of that. So that was an accepted program that Vanderbilt allowed and signed off on. Once I had completed that, there was a lot of medical stuff that I had to do. And a lot of this medical stuff I was doing during the process that I was in IOP. The whole process doesn't just stop. So I had to do colonoscopies. I had to have upper GI scans. I had to have, obviously, regular paracentesis to take the fluid off. I had to get updated for a whole lot of different vaccinations I had to get. Hepatitis A, I had to make sure I was vaccinated for that. They really want you to stay up on your flu shots. You have to have regular blood work done. In my case, for a long time, I had to have blood work done every 2 weeks. Sometimes I was having it done every week. Now I have it done usually about every month, and it's just a constant monitoring process. So after that, you will be asked usually to come back in 3 months with your physician. Now, before you actually meet with them again, they will likely, at least in my case, send orders for things like ultrasounds and fibroscans, and there are different kinds of ultrasounds that they may order as the process goes on. So in one of those ultrasounds that they recently ordered for me is the one that I'm having a follow-up CT scan on here in a couple of weeks. Some of them can look at different angles, and they have found 2 lesions on my liver that were not spotted in previous ultrasounds. So a lot of that just depends on exactly what they're looking for. So as they're giving you these types of orders, be sure to ask your physician, exactly what is being looked at, because things can arise. They're going to look at your kidneys, they're going to look at your liver, they're going to look at the veins going in and out of your liver. So the CT scans that I'm having come up, for example, are for with and without contrast. So they're going to be looking at my chest, they're going to be looking at my pelvis, they're going to be looking at my abdomen, they're going to be looking at my kidneys. So they're going to be looking pretty much everywhere. Big thing, they're going to make sure that there's no bleeding happening kind of around the liver, because when there's scarring and blood flow can't go through as well as it can, or as well as it should, you can begin to get varices issues, you can get bleeding issues, and a lot of times that can go unnoticed. You won't know that you're actually bleeding. So that's just kind of what's going on right now, and that's kind of the general idea as to what will happen for your first Vanderbilt appointment, at least from my perspective and my medical case. I always like to emphasize that everything that I'm telling you guys is from my personal experience. I'm not giving any medical advice. I'm not a doctor, or medically trained. But these are just things that I've learned through the process. So that's kind of what to expect for your first initial appointment, and things that you'll need to do leading up to being able to work with their transplant team. There aren't a lot of livers to go around, so they are very, very specific and very, very particular about what protocols you need to fill out. The good side to that is that as long as you maintain balance, my liver still does not work, and I still have a lot of, or pretty much all of the symptoms with the chronic fatigue and all of that stuff that's happening. But as long as they can put it off, you really want to do that, and it can be a struggle, and I'll talk about that in future videos. But that's kind of what's going on now, and I will keep everyone updated as we go on. Stay tuned. I've got some more videos that'll be coming up here in the next few days. Hope everyone has a great week and a happy Monday, and I'll see you guys later.